สวัสดีครับทุกคนครับยินดีต้อนรับครับ Welcome to another edition of Spot Skills Coding with Sunil. Today we are going to cover where we left off เราจะต่อไปจากครั้งที่แล้วครับ so ครั้งที่แล้วเราสร้างเว็บเพจที่นี่เราเสร็จแล้วกับสร้างเว็บเพจนี้ครับ so we copied this entire web page just by looking at it and just by observing it and looking at all the elements and how they worked and building it on our own just using HTML and CSS แค่เห็นแถวๆนี้แล้วก็คิดว่าโอเคสร้างนี้อย่างไรครับสร้างนี้อย่างไรครับแล้วก็เราสร้างใช้วิธี flex เราใช้วิธี grid และเราใช้ images ข้างๆ text so we built out this entire web page just by only looking at this web page and it looks pretty decent. We came out to a point where we have just about all the elements taken in correctly, done correctly. And now what we're going to do is make it responsive. So in this web page here, ถ้าจะไปถึง 100% และผมจะใช้เล็กกว่า screen ที่นี่เล็กกว่าธรรมดาครับ we see elements changing. Now on the very top, this image used to be here on this page and it is no longer there. So as we make this web page smaller, we'll see elements disappear. So how do we do that? So ถ้าเกิดว่าจะใช้ขนาดใหญ่กว่าธรรมดาหรือขนาดเล็กกว่าธรรมดาเราจะเห็นว่า elements are automatically going away. They're automatically shifting and leaving. And these get resized automatically. This shifts from being an image from side to side to top to bottom. อันนี้คือ original ของเราครับอันนี้คือเปลี่ยนไปจากขนาดเว็บเพจของเราจะเปลี่ยนไปด้วยครับ so now we have the arrow come back as we get smaller the arrow goes away and even smaller now the image goes on top of the other text. Same thing down here with our contact form. Our contact form is here and now as we get smaller as we get bigger we see this is the original และถ้าจะไปถึงเล็กกว่าธรรมดาครับเราจะเห็นว่า contact form จะเปลี่ยนไปถึงข้างบน image รูปของเราครับและข้างหลังทีนี้ครับมีวิธีเปลี่ยนไปถึงทั้งสองนี้ข้างๆกันและ product ข้างบน subscribe ครับ so right now ถ้าจะไปถึงเว็บเพจของเราเหมือนกันแบบนั้นครับเราจะเห็นว่าดูน่าเกลียดมาก does not look very pretty at all looks really bad looks really ugly oh no what have we done this looks really bad because it is not responsive at all. This is not responsive one bit. Or even web hosting gets shrunken down really small, so we have to fix a lot of things in our responsiveness. Now, the way we designed our web page, the method we used initially is a build for desktop first. ครั้งที่แล้วเราสั่งให้ desktop เพราะว่าเราสั่งให้ขนาดใหญ่มาก so we built for the desktop first and then we're building for mobile so จริงๆเราทำ backwards ครับควรในจริงๆweb pages เราควรสร้างให้โทรศัพท์เล็กๆครับ we should build for the smallest screen size and then adjust for bigger screen sizes but what I did just to show you how this works is I built for the desktop first just to be able to highlight how CSS works, how HTML works. Otherwise, it would have been very confusing and very complicated right from the beginning. So we're going about this backwards. We're going about this the opposite way regular web designers would go about this because for learning purposes ผมอยากแสดงว่าใช้ HTML อย่างไรครับใช้ element ใหญ่มากแล้วก็ใช้ CSS อย่างไรใช้ element ใหญ่มากและจะไปเล็กกว่าปกติจะใช้กับ element เล็กที่สุดแล้วก็จะไปถึงขนาดใหญ่ที่สุด all right so now we have this really bad looking web page it does not flow it doesn't respond very well things are going off the page it doesn't look very good it's got overflow going on and even worse if we look at it on a mobile device let's say we take a look at the iPad doesn't even really register doesn't where is it let's see why am I not even getting a response on the mobile side? That's not good. Anyway, let's drop that for a minute and go back to our regular web page. So with our regular web page, apologies. That's probably why. Let me go back here and I'll show you exactly what I did there. So I implemented a media query on sizes less than 768. So this is my width and this is my height. So this is width and I can customize this custom ใช้ได้ครับ ถ้าเกิดว่าผมอยากใช้ 100% ใช้ได้ครับ 375 and this is what our web page looks like. This is not pretty at all on an iPhone device or even on an iPad device. So if you haven't messed around with this, I highly suggest messing with this. Even if I go landscape, it still doesn't look very good. It looks really, really bad. So how do we fix this? So we're going to implement what's called a media query. And I'm going to delete this for right now. And I'm going to jump back into our desktop. I'm going to make sure that I have 100% focus on this page, so I'm at 100%. And why do I have my developer tools open? ผมจะเปิด developer tools อีกหนึ่งครั้งครับ so เปิด developer tools และข้างใน developer tools เราจะเห็นว่าในขนาดแถวๆนี้ top right corner we're going to see the numbers flip back and forth. So we're going to see that number increase as I go wider. As I go more to the left, that number gets bigger because this is the number of pixels in our current desktop from left to right. My screen size is 1440 pixels on my browser, so I can bring this down, and now we get down to, let's say, 768, and I can go all the way down to 500 pixels. But our page changes kind of, but it doesn't change the way we want it to. Still doesn't look very beautiful, doesn't look very responsive. So I'm going to bring this back out, and now we see that if I change the bottom, I get my height responsiveness. So now I see that I'm at 871 by 330. So the left number is our width, the right number is our height. And we're going to adjust our screen today, by example, for our width, the width of the page. So I'm going to implement something called a media query. So at media, and I'm going to do a max width of 768 pixels. And what I'm going to do here is type in display, or color it up. I'm going to type in body. So in my media query, it's the same exact thing as all of this CSS here. All I am doing is wrapping a rule around all of this. ผมแค่ใส่ทั้งหมดนี้ข้างใน rule และข้างในนี้ข้างใน rule ผมบอกว่าผมแค่สามารถ rule นี้เมื่อไหร่เราจะน้อยกว่า768 พิกเซลครับถ้าเกิดว่าใหญ่กว่าไม่ต้องคิดเกี่ยวกับกฎหมายนี้ครับ or กฎนี้ครับแค่ต้องใช้ธรรมดาครับถ้าเกิดว่าเราไปเล็กกว่า768 pixel สามารถกดนี้ครับ so apply this rule and here I can take the same exact tag that I had before, the body tag, and this is just an example on how to use this, but I'm going to do a display none, and once I do a display none, now our screen size, what is it right now? Our screen size is currently 900 pixels. Now I go down to closer to 768. And once we hit 768, good. I get no display whatsoever. That's the purpose of display none, to test whether this works or not. So try that out. Play with that. Just make sure that you have body and display none. This is not our final result by any means. This is just a test. So we can see once we get closer to 768, it goes away. If we go wider than 768, it comes back. So this is good results right here. This is what you want to see, that the rule is being invoked. And whoops, that was weird. And now I can also say, if I want to change the color here, I can do the background. Now I can apply a background of, let's just do, make it really, really obvious, 333. And now when I change this, it'll have a blacker background in the background. So it'll have a darker background and white to dark. So you can even play around with that if you wanted to. So play around with this and get comfortable with the screen size width. And so now we're going to jump back into deleting the body element here. And what I'm going to do is copy in my showcase and my nav. I want to be able to play around with these a little bit. And so I'm going to copy in all of this for now. I'm going to copy in our nav section, or my nav section. And let's work on making the nav section a little bit more, this section here, we're going to work on making that a bit more responsive. So my nav section is here. And now once my screen size gets pulled down to 768, okay, cool, my nav section is there. I don't like the arrangement of this. So I'm going to change up my image size, my nav logo. I'm going to change. That's okay, but I want to change up my image. So my image size here is going to be width, let's just say 50%, and see what happens there. Now my image changes, gets smaller here. Now if I delete, if I copy these two out or comment those two out, and I go to my section about, and I go to, whoops, sorry, section showcase, and I go to my section nav, and in here I go to my section nav logo. So nav logo is still getting the style up from up top. Even if I put these in and save, now it's getting it from the media query. I want to show you that one more time, just in case that was confusing. I'm going to comment out nav logo, hentini nav logo, nav logo, nav logo, majak media query ตัวนี้ครับ majak media query และถ้าเกิดว่าผมจะลบนี้ครับแล้วก็ save ทีนี้ครับและ nav logo จะออกไป media query จะออกไปและนี้มาจาก nav logo ข้างบนอันนี้มาจากทีนี้ครับ so what's happening here if I've defined it up here ถ้าเกิดว่าผมเขียนข้างใน CSS ธรรมดาครับผมจะสามารถ rule กดจากข้างบนครับ so these are my default rules that apply and that's what we're seeing now so if I change up my margin here or change anything here it will affect the focus or it'll affect the logo positioning and it's coming from this rule but if I have it in my media query then it will grab it from the media query down here. So I'm now getting it from media max width, and it tells me the line number I'm pulling it from as well. This is line 573, and we can see it's pulling it from line 573 in my CSS. So now we know that if I got rid of this, I don't really want this in here. I don't care because I know that this is going to be only on this side, and that's good enough for me. The width is okay for me. Now, I can do my nav links. I don't need to care about the float right because I wanted to, but I want my margins and my pixels to be a bit smaller. So if I change that up, now we see them get a little bit closer. My font size, change these to about 15 and see what happens. All right, cool. And now we're getting a little bit closer to what we want. We want this picture though. We want the margin for this one to be a little bit less so that these two come in side by side. And so maybe I do a minus 10, so I'll do 10 pixels on the top and bottom, and I will do a minus 20 pixels on the left, or minus 50 pixels. Let's try minus 100 pixels on the left. On the bottom, I want 10 pixels, and on the right, I want 0 pixels. And see what that looks like. And that didn't make too much of a difference because I'm still probably in my container. So if I look at this, yep, I'm still within my container. So that's a problem. So I want to make this wider for my container. Okay, how do I do that? I'm going to get rid of these changes and go back to what it was before. And if I need to give this more room, ตัวนี้จะใช้ container จากข้างบนครับข้างใน media query ของผมครับผมจะ copy นี้ครับ copy, and we're going to bring this down into our media query. And we can just say utility classes. And there's our container. And I'm going to make this width 100%. All right, that might be a little too much, so make it 90%. There we go. That looks nicer. And we've got some padding going on. We've got some, there we go. Whoops, that might be a little too much on my margin. So I can go back up top and say 30 from the top, and from my right and left, I want 0 pixels, 0 pixels, and 0 pixels, and see what happens. All right, and my bottom, I want 30 pixels. Cool. Play around. That looks much better. All right. So now with the subwoofer, I want to be able to hide this subwoofer and bring in my text. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to get rid of, I don't need my float right here. Sorry, I can get rid of the nav links. I can get rid of the float right. I can get rid of the float left if I wanted to. I can get rid of the list style. I change the font size, and I can get rid of text transform. These are the only things that I've changed in my nav section so far. And so I don't need to bring in everything. ไม่ต้องใช้ทั้งหมดข้างในนี้ครับ I just have to bring in the elements that I changed, and that's it. These are the only elements that I really need to bring in into here. Everything else comes from up above. ถ้าเกิดว่าผมเห็น nav links ทีนี้ครับ so now I have nav links, or sorry, nav logo. I have things that came from my media query และมีจาก nav logo ทีนี้ครับ so some things may come, some things may not, and I have all of this stuff inherited from my body tag as well. So now I've got my element taken care of there. If I go to my nav links and I look at nav list, I'll be able to see, there we go, nav links li, sorry, nav links, and I look at my individual links. Now if I see it, I have things coming from my media query, but I also have things coming from my nav links, such as my list style, my float, text transform, all of those things come in. And media query takes care of my margin and my font size. So these got overridden. So they no longer apply in here. So this section is now taken care of. And we're just going to finish up with the about section and clean this up, and then be able to see that happen one more time. So here I'm going to take in my showcase. I'm going to bring in the entire showcase section. And there we go. So now down below here, I can see my entire showcase section. Change up the positioning on there. And you don't have to change in the positioning. Spacing does not matter. Tagarwa mi space when wa tini mi when wa tini chai dai หรือไม่ใช่แต่ผมคิดว่าให้ตัวเองง่ายกว่า Tagarwa พยายามอ่านครับ So what I can do here is I can either get rid of this whole thing, or I can just change up the background height if I wanted to. But really what I want to do here is just do a display none. And that gets rid of that image altogether. All right, so that blows away that image. Here, the showcase text, I want to get rid of my margin top. And then what I want to see is where that space is coming in up above for that particular, why there's so much space up above there. And so what I'm going to do is go down to my showcase, and where is my showcase? There we go. Showcase woofer is gone, showcase text. So this now is telling me media query. Now I have a margin top still coming in from the top. So just because I got rid of it here, it's still calling it from up here. It's still using this value here. I don't want to change this. ไม่อยากเปลี่ยนข้างบนที่นี่อยากเปลี่ยนที่นี่ครับ So remember, I have to change it here. If I just get rid of it, it's not going to make a difference. ถ้าจะออกจากที่นี้จะยังมาจากข้างบนครับ So we see that in my media query, I got rid of it from here, no problem. But it's still coming from my margin top up here. That's a problem. So what I need to do is change it down here. And I can say 0 pixels, and I can say auto. And now it'll go away from the top. So now this one looks like I have a typo, which I do. I put margin top 0 pixels. That's much better. 0 pixels and auto. And now we've got it coming back up to the top where it looks much nicer. All right, I can get rid of the width command as well. And this one, I want to say width is 100%. And I want to do a float display inline. That'll get rid of my float. And so now we have it looking much, much nicer, much more like this one when we change up our sizing. So unlimited web hosting. There we go, and we are done with that one. So now I can change my, do I want to change my font size? I can or can't. I'm going to leave that one alone. That's okay. I can say width here is now 100%, and that will change up to take up the full width of the page. ถ้าเกิดว่าผมอยากเปลี่ยนไปถึง font weight bold ได้ครับ and that'll change up my font weight to be a little more bold and more heavy. So we can change things automatically there. All right. Now, if I take a look at the other page, let's give it some more room. So we see we're getting closer to what this page looks like here, where we have our unlimited web hosting, we have our get started and contact us. How do we look on our get started and contact us? That looks okay. Enter domain looks okay. Cool. And that's it for that section. And then later on, we'll start cleaning up these sections down below. แต่ให้วันนี้แค่อยากแสดงว่าใช้ media query อย่างไรครับและใช้ดูแบบนี้อย่างไรครับ and then I can get rid of all of this stuff down here, the get started, the contact us, the form. I can delete all of that. Save it, and now we still have everything looking very, very similar to this page here. And that's it. And that's all I need. I changed up my display none, and I can even get rid of my showcase section there, and we're still okay. All I have to keep in here are the things that I've changed or the things that I need to keep changed from up above. And that's it. So what we did today ทบทวนเราทำอะไรบ้างครับใช้ media query ครับถ้าน้อยกว่า 768 เรารู้ว่าน้อยกว่า 768 ใน upper corner ที่นี้เราจะเห็นว่า size คืออะไรครับ we have on the left side we have the width, on the right side we have the height. So here we did max width of 768, and so we can change up how we want the page to look on smaller sizes. And then as we get wider back to our normal page, everything comes back. So everything looks back to normal on a bigger size. So we're going to fix all of this in our future lessons. So for today, thank you very much. And if you have any questions or if there's any comments, please feel free to ask. And we are good to go for today's lesson. Again, if you have any questions, comments, feel free to leave them in our YouTube channel or feel free to leave them on our Facebook page. If there's anything you want to cover in the future or if there's anything that I've missed or if I've made a mistake, feel free to call it out. We're here to help you guys, and hopefully you got something out of today's lesson. If you have questions, feel free to ask. เจอกันครั้งหน้าครับ See you next time. Bye.